We are the stories we believe in. Stories make our mundane life bearable amidst all the hustle and absurdism happening around the world and in our personal spaces. In fact, we turn to social media to escape into another reality. The people we follow on social media, the art we see, and the stories we read sort of starts becoming a part of our daily lives. Internet and technology has definitely changed the way art is perceived nowadays. It has made art more democratic and accessible. No one can argue on that. In the past, art was something that only a minority of people could access. One needed to go to an art gallery to see artworks. An artist had to take his work to a gallery or get it published on a print media for his audience to see them. Today, Internet has made this process extremely simple by enabling artists to simply upload it all on a web space. You can access it at any point of time, share it with your community, or even sell it. This has inevitably changed the way a viewer connects with artwork. Let me tell you how. When you go to an art gallery, you're actually ready and prepared to receive the art. You go there with an intention to see and enjoy the art. The artist knows that his audience who comes to the gallery could mostly be art enthusiasts. Whereas in case of a new gen artist who uploads his work on social media does not get that privilege. His audience could be from different walks of life. They may or may not be an art enthusiast. They might be seeing your artwork on their social media feed at the most unexpected time. Maybe when they are in a traffic jam, or stuck inside a lift, or in between work. They could be in different emotional states as well. They could be struggling with something in their life. Maybe they just had their first kiss, or maybe had a breakup. The point is, the audience in the latter case are not always prepared or ready to receive your art. No one can predict the receiver end of the art publication on internet, and this has changed the rules of art perception in a huge way. As an artist who majorly uploads artwork on the internet, I usually get responses from people all around the world, irrespective of language, culture, or borders. Mostly they are positive messages of love and appreciation, but sometimes I do get criticism as well about the way I portray things. But whatever case it may be, as an artist and storyteller, I had to invite people to listen to my stories. I had to make my audience participate in the story by encouraging them to think and perceive meaning in their own way about my art. Stanley Kubrick once told this: if you really want to communicate something, even if just an emotion or an attitude, let alone an idea, the least effective and least enjoyable way is directly. It only goes in about an inch. But if you can get people to the point where they have to think a moment what it is you are getting at and then discover it, the thrill of discovery goes right through the heart. When I started to make art on internet, this was the quote that came to my mind first. Instead of telling the story directly, I usually try to give visual cues so that viewer can think for a moment and create the story in his mind. In other words, by doing this, you are inviting the observer to participate in the process of storytelling. My purpose here is to make the window for a viewer to look at and encourage them to figure out its meaning themselves. Let me explain this with few examples. Humor is the best way to start with, so here is a backstory. In 2016, when the state demonetized the 500 rupees note overnight, people rushed to the ATM to withdraw money, which resulted in long queues in front of ATMs. The situation was so for quite a number of weeks, and each time you stepped out, you could always see lines of people in front of ATMs. I wanted to represent this perfect craziness. So I took the image of the old 500 rupees and on the backside, I made a slight change like this and uploaded on my profile. I connected the Dandi Yatra to demonetization just by adding some quirky thought without actually preaching anything directly to the viewer. It suddenly went viral on social media and it made people laugh. Evolution of the social media era has also resulted in people documenting everything in their life and presenting it on their social media handles. In that context, I redrew the same image of Dandi Yatra with the title, "The Revolution Will Be Instagrammed." Here, I used the same reference image of Dandi Yatra but added different visual cues for the people to think. When we are documenting our life as often as we do now, we always have this constant pressure of making everything look good and perfect. We always try to politically correct on internet but in real life, reaching there is a pretty big task. I try to represent this dilemma with this illustration. Can't pretend it anymore. Social media is also a place where you actually get to witness a lot of propagandas. News we hear are usually fabricated. Everything you see on internet is not true, and often they are carefully crafted messages which affects the collective consciousness of the entire society. As an artist, this is how I represent this situation. Till the year 2012, I had a corporate job. During that time, every day I had the same routine. Wake up, get stuck in city traffic, reach office, find new corporate ladders to climb, goals to achieve, wait for appraisals and validation, etc. Soon enough, I understood that it was an endless cycle. This was my inspiration for this illustration. I was fortunate enough to quit the office job after a while and got into making art full time because someone had to tell all the stories, right? Not just in professional front, so-called routines follow us into our personal lives as well. The usual things that all of us get pushed into due to societal pressure, like get married by 30, have kids, buy a car, and then buy 1,000 square feet home for an unreasonable price for which you end up paying EMI for the next 50 years of your life. When I thought about this, I came up with this particular illustration. In fact, social pressure affects adults and kids alike. We are constantly asked to follow a path and be like everyone else and do like everyone else, which actually ends up being so stressful that you feel suffocated. To represent this, what else can I use other than a pressure cooker? This one is about most Indian parents. They will do everything for their kids except encourage them to be themselves. I'm sure most of you can relate to this too. Gender inequality makes the social pressure even more terrible for women. They put women in different balls and never allow them to be free. Like trapping them in smaller spaces without allowing them to be free thinkers. This illustration represents that when you can't fit in, when you need the whole sea. I have another illustration series named Unposted Letters, where I use the same narrative technique to communicate different emotions of love and life. The entire illustration series are crafted like letters from a boy to a girl accompanied by a small prose. Here is an example, just when I thought it was a breakdown. We all might have encountered a similar situation somewhere in life, right? A time when you thought it was a downfall or an end, but all of a sudden it leads to something beautiful or unexpected. This illustration shows the absurdness and ambiguity of life. There are times when things are not in our control and we can only wait and watch how life unfolds in front of us. This is same for human relationships too. In fact, we can write a book about this topic, but instead we can also encapsulate it into an illustration and let the viewer complete the story. Here is another one. Everyone will disappear, but not in the same way. In this one, I am trying to communicate how insignificant and trivial the human life is. People will always disappear, no matter what. It's quite a relatable instant for many of us. You might have had someone in your life whom you thought will be there forever, but they would have disappeared somewhere in the middle. Such relatable collective experiences are the backbone of Unposted Letters series. I have made around 150 Unposted Letters illustration like this, and I believe people find them so relatable that they not only connect with it, but also share them with their dear ones. It's human nature to enjoy listening to stories. Stories make us believe in something. Even though the mediums have changed constantly over time, the idea remains the same. In the era of internet and technology, it's almost like magic when someone connects to your work and engage with it sitting miles apart. It means someone is giving you their valuable time to listen to your story and even empathize about it. These small things make me believe that we are all connected by same emotions as one species. The world might be full of chaos and darkness, and it's not always easy to find your way within it. We can be saved only by sharing stories to each other. Stories of success, stories of failures, stories of hope, love, heartbreak, stories that make you question the authority, even stories about your own existence. Maybe by telling the stories and imagining a better future, we can actually make it a reality. Or maybe not. But either way, we must tell them in our own way as long as we can, as deep as we can. Because at the end of the day, storytellers will disappear. Of course, not in the same way, but stories will live forever. Thank you.